My name's Trish Cronin, and I'm the second daughter of William B. Dwyer. My father served in the Royal Australian Navy from 1914 right through until 1946. My dad was born in Morven, Central Queensland in 1892. Well, we've got a photograph of him when he was 13 years of age, and he was in the Army Cadets there. He obviously wanted to join some service in his life. But from the papers that we have, and just going back through all the family records, he seemed to have a love for the Navy from a very early age, but he was the only one in his family that ever went to the services. And he trained as an engineer. He was a mechanical and electrical engineer. And he was actually in the expeditionary forces with the Royal Australian Navy that went to New Guinea in 1914. And then from there he went to HMAS Sydney, and he was on the Sydney when they tracked down the Emden. They were on their way to Gallipoli. The Emden was the German raider, which was hanging around in the oceans off the Indian Ocean, and the Emden, I think, was trying to stop them from getting to Gallipoli. And of course it was HMAS Sydney that was sent off to chase the Emden, and they scuttled the Emden. Mind you, the Sydney got damaged too, but not as badly as Emden. And then from there he went to HMAS Brisbane, and he served on HMAS Brisbane for quite a long time. He also served on HMAS Canberra. Well, Dad never really talked about his Navy life. Mum used to say he was deep as the ocean he sailed on, because he never really talked about it. Mum never used to say that it affected him, because Dad was always busy, he was always working, he was always heavily involved in doing things, but he never ever showed any anger towards the war. I know he lost quite a few mates in the war, and one of the biggest things I know that really affected him was our neighbour in Melbourne. He kept pestering him about joining the Navy. Dad tried to stop him from joining, but he joined, and he was on HMAS Perth, and he lost his life, and he was only 18, and that really upset him. And this is a watch that's dated the 3rd of October 1915, and that was actually his birthday. And that, I don't know who gave it to him, but his initials are on the back, WBD. And they're just 2 buttons from his uniforms. That's Dad's uniform, not from the First World War, of course, but from the Second World War. And that was something that he always kept, and the stripes, I believe, indicate the engineering side. And that was his cap that he wore. The Second World War, yeah. And this here, this is the photograph of HMAS Brisbane's crew, and that was when HMAS Brisbane had been sold off, and that was the last crew, and Dad's actually in there. That's the final photograph of the crew of HMAS Albatross before they were transferred to other ships, and that's taken in 1933. She was one of the first ships to have aircraft launching equipment on it, and they used to launch biplanes off there. And Dad was chief engineer on that. That's his medals. Well, the first one is the 1914-15 Star, which is for overseas theatres of war, the British War Medal, and this one is the Victory Medal for the First World War. And this one here is a long service medal. Dad had done 20 years service before the Second World War even broke out. So that was issued by the British government. Then we've got the 1939-45 Star, and then there's the Pacific Star for service in the Pacific, and then there's the War Medal, And the last one is the Australian Service Medal for the 1939-45. Dad was a very, very strong-willed man, very quiet personality, but he liked everything to be done perfectly and on time. He always set a pattern for everything in life. And we had to follow that pattern, but he was very good to my sister and I. Spoilt us absolutely rotten. His memories lives on out here in Balgal. We have a memorial out here, and his face features on the Dawn Service Memorial, which is down at Balgal Beach. He always wanted to spend his life around the ocean, and when he retired, he came to Balgal Beach and lived his last years here in Balgal. Yeah.